Today, I'm going to talk about a company that quite literally comes from the future. I'm talking about Ekso Bionics, which specializes in creating RoboCop. Okay, all jokes aside, they're doing something I personally hope they can succeed. Don't see this as a recommendation to buy, it's just that Ekso, as the name suggests, constructs exoskeletons. And the exoskeletons are targeted at disabled people with the goal of letting them walk once again. I know the whole thing sounds like a sci-fi movie, but it's not. Apparently, Ekso has had a working product for years, but the company wasn't very actively traded until recently when one day it registered $1.2 million in dollar volume. That was almost 7 times the average for the company until Friday, when the stock had a volume spike of almost $8 million. The market isn't very clear on what caused this. The prevailing opinion is that the big stir was caused by a NASDAQ-traded company in the same sector called ReWalk Robotics. ReWalk just had its initial public offering last Friday. They are traded under the symbol RWLK if you're interested. The IPO apparently brought attention to the whole industry, hence the dollar volume, and perhaps people were rightly interested in Ekso. As a whole, it seems to be one of the most solid enterprises on the OTC market, at least if you're considering the financials as the most important factor. For the quarter ending June 30th, 2014, on one hand, the company had $11 million in cash, $15.3 million in total current assets, and $1.2 million in quarter revenues. On the other hand, it had $6.1 million in total current liabilities and $4.3 million in operating loss. Despite the last part, the revenues have been growing each quarter, jumping 150% on a year-by-year basis. Things really have been going well for Ekso, which is the reason I was baffled by the company's chart. The stock has been on a downhill slump in the last 6 months, only revitalizing a week or two ago. As was the case in the sudden spike in Friday, there isn't an immediate apparent reason for this. Investor forums suggest that the marijuana craze this year affected the stock negatively, but I'm not too sure about that. Around the same time of the slump, the cannabis industry itself experienced a crash. Far likelier is something to do with the prospectus in front of you. I'll leave a link in the description. Basically, the share price dropped from $3.50 to under $1 because back in June, the company registered 67 million shares with the prospectus. Let me give you some perspective. Ekso's OTC profile states that as of August 1st, it has 78 million shares outstanding. 31 million of those were sold with the prospectus I showed you at $1 a piece. With each one of those shares came one warrant exercisable at $2. Right now, there's no way to know how many warrants were exercised. Additionally, 14 million more shares were registered at the end of August. Obviously, those aren't counted in the profile. And let's not forget that in 2013, Ekso sold 1.3 million shares that became 4.6 million after the forward split performed this January. In reality, those were bought for half a penny per share. There seems to be an awful lot of shares registered. That's all I'm saying. An awful lot of warrants and an awful lot of shares held by different entities. Many of those may come into play if the price keeps going up, so it may be best to think hard before making any investments. This is Martin Nadenov for HotStock.com.
I have a small amount of money to invest and I want to gamble in the market. I'm looking for a penny stock that'll go up and turn it into $100,000 or $1 million.